So you're exhausted, but all your tests come back normal. You're tired all the time. You're angry at the people that seem to have it all together, that seem to have everything that you are hoping for or once had. You have pain in your body. You have no reason to have this pain and you just can't figure it all out. What if I told you that you're not broken, you're not crazy, you're not failing, you're just grieving and you don't even know it? Hi, I'm Sharonda, and I help people deal with grief, the grief they know about and the grief that they don't even know is there. Let's call this grief hidden grief. When people hear the word grief, they automatically think about a loved one that passed away, transitioned, died, whatever term you feel more comfortable using, somebody that was once there with you and is no longer there. You are allowed and expected to go into a grieving period. Your place of employment would give you time off. They would tell you take the time that you need. Maybe they'll offer you free counseling or therapy. It's because it's expected to grieve after a person dies. It's expected to grieve after you had a dear one close to you pass away. But what about the thing that is not really expected that you grieve? What about the lost opportunity? What about the marriage that did not go as planned? What about the body you once had, but you don't have anymore? What about the hair that you had to cut off and you were not planning to do that? What about the children that you were hoping for that are not here yet? What about the friendship that just died? All of these are things that actually affects us quite similarly as losing a person. But yet we take the opportunity, we take the time to grieve the person, but we not necessarily take the time to grieve any of these things. Now, I'm not saying it's apples to apples, and the same way you would take 3 months off from work if a loved one died, that you need to take 3 months off from work just because there was a lost opportunity. But we have to recognize that, hey, something happened. I need to deal with this in order to move on, in order so it does not affect the other thing. So it does not give me anxiety of what's to come so that I can be ready for the next step. So in these cases, you're not mourning a person, you're mourning a dream, a possibility, a future that you expected by now. But you don't necessarily call it grief. You call it being stuck, you call it being tired, you call it being stressed, you call it being exhausted. But because you haven't named it as grief, you can't deal with the grief. And grief manifests itself in so many different ways when it's not dealt with. Here's why this is so dangerous. If you can't name your grief, you can't heal from the grief. And just as in AA and NA, those survivors have to stand up and say what it is that they're battling in order to move on to the next level. This is the same thing for grief. If you don't know something is happening, you can't really heal from it. And it just turns into so many other things that it did not have to develop into. It becomes depression because you feel so stuck and you just don't know what's going on. It can turn into anxiety because you're just anticipating the next failure. It can even turn into resentment because you are angry and bitter with somebody that has something that you were expecting to have by now. It can also turn into a spiritual crisis because you're blaming God because this is not how this is supposed to go and this is unfair and this is not working out. Can also turn into a relationship crisis because you don't understand what's going on with you. Your spouse doesn't understand what's going on with you. And then everything just goes haywire from there. So it's very important to be able to be in tune and to know when something shifts and to know and acknowledge that, hey, I expected this and this didn't happen, or this situation that has happened is actually making me feel this particular way so that you can know when something's off and then step in to deal with it. One of the things that can make this a little challenging is society would tell you that, just be positive. At least you don't have, or at least you have, or you could just move on because it's a situation that's not necessarily recognized by society as something that should be grieved. And, there are some things that you learn not to say to a grieving person, and we can agree on some of those things. But when you don't know you're grieving and your colleague doesn't know you're grieving, and you share a situation with them and none of you recognize that this is actually something that needs to be grieved, or I am actually grieving now and I don't know it. When none of you recognize it and then now they say something in the efforts of trying to help you and it just makes it worse, the possibility of you now being offended or falling into resentment with them, it just grows. But it's all because you haven't named this thing. You haven't said, hey, I really wanted that position. I really thought I was going to get put that position. And it hurt that this person got it over me. It hurt that they canceled the position and it's no longer available. And I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, and then just going to deal with it whatever way you deal with your grief normally. So just taking that time to recognize it, name it, and deal with it is very, very, very important. So I'm going to give you 5 signs that you could potentially be dealing with hidden grief. And I will preface it by saying, by no means am I saying that if you're experiencing any of these things, you're automatically grieving. These are just some ways that hidden grief can manifest. And I'm just here to bring awareness to it so that maybe if you're feeling a little off, maybe if you're that person that feel exhausted, maybe you're wondering why all of a sudden you're just angry at somebody that you don't even know because of something that they have. Potentially, you could fall in this category and it could be an easy fix for you. Number one, you're exhausted and you have no reason to be. There's nothing that's going on that should be making you exhausted at this time, but you're just exhausted and you don't know why. You've gone for tests, you've gone to see the doctor, you've examined your own self, and everything just is normal. You know, grief does not just live in the heart, grief finds a place and is stored in the body. I may have said this in another video before, but when trauma happens, when certain things happen, when pain happens, the body goes into flight and fight mode, and it is meant to be for a certain amount of time. But if there is unhealed trauma, which grief is a type of that, it has to find a place to be stored. And it finds little pockets in the body and it just sits there until we can deal with it. And a lot of times that goes unrecognized for a very, very, very long time. The second sign I would say is you're angry at people that seem to have it all, or people that have what you are wanting or waiting on. And yes, there are just some jealous people in the world. There are just some people that are just bitter for no reason. But this is not you. This is not normal for you to feel this way. You're not jealous, you're not bitter, but all of a sudden, you just feel this hatred that's not normal for you towards somebody just because they have something that you are wanting. That is a sign that you need to name that, hey, I thought I would have this by now, or I once had this and I don't have it yet. And it's going to be okay, and deal with it, because is it really fair to you or that person for you just to be bitter at them just because of something that they have that they probably worked really hard for, or that was a gift that honestly, it really doesn't even have anything to do with you? It's not even your business, but you feel so personal. It feels like it's your business. It's probably something underlying about what they have or what you see or even what you think they have that you need to deal with. Avoidance. You avoid certain people, you avoid certain places, certain type of celebrations. You really want to go, but you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect what your response to the people may be. You really want to celebrate with them, but you really don't feel like celebrating with them because you feel the weight of your own loss. You feel the weight of, I should have been married by now, and I do not want to go to this wedding because I was supposed to get married first. And I want to smile, but inside I don't feel really happy. So it's going to show. And then I don't want to look like the bad person, and on and on and on and on. You just talk yourself out of going anyway. That is hidden grief that you need to deal with. Number 4, you feel guilty for not being more grateful. You feel guilty for not being happier. There are many good things happening in your life and you know it. and you feel like you should be happier about it, but you just can't pinpoint why. Things are moving, things are happening, there are things to celebrate. You're naturally a grateful person, but you just can't shake it off and you just can't figure out why am I not grateful because things are going so great. What is wrong with me? It's probably nothing wrong with you. It's probably just something that happened and you need to go find out what it is and just deal with it. But here's the truth: grief and gratitude can exist at the same time in the same human being. You can appreciate what's happening while taking some time to mourn what hasn't happened yet, taking some time to recognize this didn't happen and I'm a little upset about it, but I'm going to spend most of my time in gratitude. And I promise you, and I challenge you, if you take some time to actually look and name what it is that you are upset about, what it is that didn't happen, what it is that you actually are grieving. You name it, acknowledge it, and then go into gratitude. You're going to feel a whole lot better. You're going to be able to remain in gratitude because you've named what the challenge is and you've named why it is that you weren't feeling so grateful to begin with. Number 5, you're going through the motions. You're showing up. You're showing up at work. You're showing up with a friend. Maybe you did show up to the celebration. Maybe you didn't avoid it, but you're not present anywhere. You're just going through the motions. You're not present. You are just surviving. And this is what unprocessed grief can do. It can have you just going and going and going, but it shuts you down. So you're living, but you're not experiencing. You're literally just surviving. I'm sure we've all heard survival mode many times before. It puts you in survival mode. And all because something or some things need to be processed. Okay, so what do you actually do? So I've listed all these different things and there's many more, but what do you actually do when you realize, hey, you know what? I think I'm grieving. I think I'm grieving a few things. This makes sense. Number 1, you name it. Naming it gives you power over it. Hi, I am actually grieving that career that I was in for 10 years that I suddenly had to change because of an injury. I am grieving that career that I thought I would have by now, but unfortunately, I have not been able to pass the exam yet. I am grieving that position that slipped out of my fingers because I did not pass that professional exam. I am grieving the body that I once had because I didn't had these 4 kids and they didn't change everything. I am grieving the hair that was not so long, but it was longer than it is now because I had to cut it all off because I was just getting stress patches in it and it wasn't looking nice. I am grieving this relationship because we had been together from high school and I thought we would be together forever. I am grieving my family situation right now because it looks different. It looks different than I thought it would look, or it looks different than it looked last year. It looks different than it looked last week. Whatever the case may be, name it. Grief does not have control of you. It is a part of life, but you are in control. And it just needs to be processed. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to be upset, to be angry for a moment, to not be you for something that you thought you'd have, or something that you had and no longer have, or for not being where you thought you would be right now, for not even being the person that you thought you would be right now. Just give yourself a moment. Nobody has to die for you to grieve. Nobody has to die for you to heal. So give yourself permission to just be. Stop trying to get over it alone. Number 3, it's okay to ask for help. Stop trying to get over it alone. If you could have recognized it by now and gotten over it by now, you probably wouldn't be feeling the way you feel. So whatever not doing it alone means to you, whether it means getting help from support from a loved one, support from a close friend, support from a professional, support from a pastor, whatever that means to you. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to. I think my theme that I always say all the time is we're not meant to do life alone. You don't have to do it alone. So stop trying to do it alone. Stop beating yourself up because you don't have it all figured out and you can't figure it out. Talk it out with somebody and maybe they could be like, hey, are you sure you're not upset about that thing that happened last week? Because it's sounding like there may be something there. And I think you should talk to somebody, or maybe you should take a day to rest and to cry it out, or whatever it may be. Don't do it alone. Stop trying to do it alone. You're not meant to be alone. It's okay to ask for help sometimes. And when you're going through something, it's so hard sometimes. And sometimes we don't want to talk about it because we feel that our feelings aren't matching what we're going through. Like, you shouldn't be so upset about something. This thing that happened shouldn't make you so angry. Like, it's almost like you feel ashamed about how you feel about the thing. So you don't want to talk to somebody about it because they probably just won't get it. I feel you. I get it. Um, that's also pretty common. And your feelings are valid. You can give yourself permission. You don't have to do it alone. And that's one of the things that I'm so privileged to be able to do now after having gone through so many different types of grief. And I feel like it all hit me at once. And after grieving for 6 years and not even know that I was actually grieving, and then to enter into the next stage of like really, really bad grief, and just to be grieved, like, the grief master, feel like I'm the grief master, and just not to really understand what's happening and to feel all the feels and not get, like, I get it. And I'm so privileged now to be on the other side of it, I would say. Not saying that I would never grieve anything again, not saying that I don't grieve anything anymore, but being able to help people through it. Cause I know what it feels like to like not understand what it is and to be stuck and to just be in that place, and it's not a good feeling. Like, you can't do life properly, you can't do relationship properly, you can't have a wonderful career properly when you're stuck. So I feel so privileged to be able to help people get out of that rut and to get unstuck, if we may say. So yeah, if you want to chat, if you feel like you do need help processing whatever you're going through and you want to reach out, feel free to book a coaching session with me. We can hash it out together. We can talk it out together in a safe space, a safe place where you can just be you and you have permission to feel all the feels, but where you actually can heal from it and not just cope. If this has resonated with you in any way, I want to help. I've created a grief recovery guide for you, and you can find the link in the description down below. Download it, read it, and know that you're not alone. Remember, you're not crazy, you're not failing, you're not broken. You just have some unprocessed grief and you need to heal. So until next time, give yourself grace and happy healing. Love you guys. Bye for now.